Three certified mechanics and the shop manager stood around a custom engine worth more than most homes in Austin, Texas, completely stumped. The diagnostic equipment showed nothing. The owner was furious. Then Mike Bricks, the 54-year-old janitor mopping floors nearby, quietly walked over and said he knew what was wrong. Everyone laughed. The mechanics and manager mocked him for daring to touch such an expensive piece of machinery. But what happened next left the entire auto shop in stunned silence and changed Mike Bricks's life forever. The story began earlier that week when this million-dollar mystery first arrived at their shop. Before we start, like this video and comment where you're watching from. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories. Now let's begin. A rare European supercar's custom engine had arrived at the Austin shop on a Tuesday morning, worth more than most homes in the city. The owner, a wealthy collector, had personally overseen its delivery after the engine began producing strange vibrations and refused to start properly despite running flawlessly during his last track event. Lead mechanic Carter Maverick connected the shop's most advanced diagnostic scanner, a machine capable of reading thousands of fault codes. The screen displayed green checkmarks across every system. Fuel pressure looked normal. Ignition timing appeared correct. Every sensor reported optimal readings, yet the engine behaved like something was seriously wrong. Maverick pulled his two senior mechanics into the diagnostic process. Together, they represented over 40 years of combined expertise with luxury European vehicles. They started with the basics, replacing spark plugs with genuine components costing $80 each. The engine still misfired. They swapped out sensors one by one, performed compression tests on all cylinders, and even brought in specialized diagnostic equipment. The fuel system delivered proper pressure. The compression numbers looked textbook perfect. Yet the sophisticated engine continued running roughly and producing concerning metallic sounds. By Wednesday afternoon, the repair bill had reached $7,200 in parts and labor with no solution in sight. The owner called every few hours, his frustration growing with each failed update. He mentioned scheduling the car for a prestigious automotive event the following week, where potential buyers would examine it closely. A non-functional engine would cost him far more than repair expenses. Word spread quickly through Austin's luxury car community. The shop's reputation for handling exotic vehicles had taken years to build, and Maverick watched it crumble with each failed repair attempt. 3 regular customers called to postpone their scheduled appointments, citing concerns about the shop's ability to handle their expensive German and Italian vehicles. Shop manager Derek Holmes found himself fielding uncomfortable calls from longtime clients who questioned whether they had grown beyond their capabilities. The mystery deepened when they discovered the engine's internal components showed no signs of wear or damage. The pistons moved smoothly. The valves seated properly. The timing chain maintained correct tension. Every mechanical aspect appeared perfect, yet the engine refused to deliver its designed performance. The sophisticated systems seemed to fight against themselves, creating power delivery issues that made no logical sense. By Wednesday afternoon, the repair bill had reached $7,200 in parts and labor with no solution in sight. The owner called every few hours, his frustration growing with each failed update. He mentioned scheduling the car for a prestigious automotive event the following week, where potential buyers would examine it closely. A non-functional engine would cost him far more than repair expenses. Word spread quickly through Austin's luxury car community. The shop's reputation for handling exotic vehicles had taken years to build, and Maverick watched it crumble with each failed repair attempt. 3 regular customers called to postpone their scheduled appointments, citing concerns about the shop's ability to handle their expensive German and Italian vehicles. Shop manager Derek Holmes found himself fielding uncomfortable calls from longtime clients who questioned whether they had grown beyond their capabilities. The mystery deepened when they discovered the engine's internal components showed no signs of wear or damage. The pistons moved smoothly. The valves seated properly. The timing chain maintained correct tension. Every mechanical aspect appeared perfect, yet the engine refused to deliver its designed performance. The sophisticated systems seemed to fight against themselves, creating power delivery issues that made no logical sense. During this entire 3-day ordeal, Mike Bricks continued his daily routine, mopping floors and emptying trash cans throughout the shop. He cleaned around the expensive diagnostic equipment and wiped down the computers. The mechanics barely noticed him as they debated increasingly desperate theories about electrical faults and software glitches. Mike Bricks listened to their technical discussions while he worked, occasionally pausing his cleaning to observe their troubleshooting methods, quietly absorbing every detail of their frustrated attempts to solve the million-dollar mystery. Thursday afternoon brought the mechanics to their breaking point. Maverick threw his wrench onto the workbench and stepped back from the engine, shaking his head in defeat. The diagnostic screen still displayed those same maddening green checkmarks while the engine sat silent and broken. The other mechanics wiped grease from their hands, muttering about faults that made no sense. Mike Bricks approached the group slowly, still holding his mop handle. He had watched their struggle for 3 days, observing every test and hearing every theory. His weathered work boots made soft sounds on the concrete floor as he moved closer to the expensive engine bay. "Excuse me," Mike Bricks said quietly, his voice barely cutting through the shop's ambient noise. "I think I might know what's wrong." Maverick looked up first, his eyebrows raised in surprise. One of the other mechanics actually laughed, a short burst that echoed off the shop's metal walls. "Mike Bricks, no offense, but this is worth more than most houses. We've got 40 years of combined experience here." The third mechanic joined the laughter. "What do you think you can fix that we can't?" Manager Derek Holmes walked over, hearing the commotion. "Come on, Mike Bricks, want to give it a shot?" he said with a smirk. "I'll buy lunch for everyone if the janitor can solve what 3 certified mechanics couldn't." Mike Bricks shifted the mop to his other hand and pointed toward a small electrical module near the engine's base. "There's a grounding fault in that module. Your diagnostic computer can't detect it because the fault is intermittent, but it's causing the misfiring. The problem isn't mechanical at all. It's electrical." The laughter stopped abruptly. Maverick stared at Mike Bricks with a confused expression. The mechanics exchanged glances, unsure how to respond to the technical terminology coming from their janitor's mouth as naturally as if he discussed engine diagnostics every day. "The grounding issue creates voltage fluctuations that interfere with the ignition timing," Mike Bricks continued. "That's why your compression tests and fuel pressure readings look perfect. The engine components are fine, but the electrical system is sending conflicting signals." Other shop employees began gathering around. Olivia McCormick, the shop owner, emerged from her office after hearing the unusual conversation. A junior mechanic working on a nearby car stopped what he was doing and walked over. The parts counter clerk left her computer to see what was happening. The shop fell into stunned silence. Maverick found himself caught between his professional pride and growing curiosity about Mike Bricks's confident explanation. The janitor's words made technical sense, even if they came from an unexpected source. 3 days of failure had left Maverick open to considering options he would normally dismiss immediately. Olivia faced a decision that could determine her shop's reputation. Her certified mechanics had burned through thousands of dollars in parts and labor without results. The owner's calls were becoming more aggressive each day. She looked at Mike Bricks, then at her frustrated mechanics, then back at Mike Bricks. "How long would you need?" Olivia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Just a few minutes to check the grounding connections," Mike Bricks replied. "I won't touch anything without explaining what I'm doing first." Maverick stepped back reluctantly, certain he was about to witness Mike Bricks's public humiliation. Mike Bricks set his mop against the wall and approached the engine bay, his movements suddenly changing from those of a tired janitor to something entirely different. Mike Bricks crouched down beside the engine bay and began his examination with movements that surprised everyone watching. His hands traced the electrical wiring harnesses methodically, following paths that the mechanics had ignored during their sensor-focused diagnostics. He located the engine's control module and pressed his ear close to it, listening for sounds that the expensive diagnostic equipment couldn't detect. "The grounding connection here is loose," Mike Bricks announced, pointing to a specific junction where electrical cables met the engine block. "The module thinks it's getting proper power, so your computers read normal, but the ground fault is creating timing interference." Maverick stepped closer, his skepticism growing as Mike Bricks prepared to make adjustments. Mike Bricks pulled a torque driver from his back pocket, a tool that none of the mechanics had seen him carry before. He began examining connections that fed directly into the engine's most expensive components. The connector pin has backed out, Mike Bricks explained, producing a digital voltmeter and connecting its leads to specific points on the module. The resistance is causing voltage drops that create timing delays in the controller. The display showed fluctuating readings that jumped erratically. The mechanics exchanged worried glances, realizing they had never thought to check voltage stability at these particular connection points. Castellanos watched nervously as Mike Bricks realigned the connector with precise movements. "How do you even know where those test points are?" one mechanic asked. "That's not in any standard manual." Mike Bricks's hands moved with the confidence of someone who had performed this exact procedure many times before. He adjusted the grounding pin's position incrementally, checking his voltmeter after each small movement. The erratic voltage readings gradually stabilized as he worked. "The system needs clean power references to coordinate timing properly," Mike Bricks explained while tightening the connection. "When the ground floats, the controller compensates by advancing or retarding timing randomly, which creates the misfiring and vibration you've been experiencing." The engine began making different sounds as Mike Bricks completed his adjustments. Instead of the rough idle and metallic vibrations that had plagued it for days, subtle mechanical noises suggested proper timing coordination. The change was noticeable even before anyone attempted to start the engine. Mike Bricks stood up and wiped his hands on a clean rag. "The voltage readings are stable now, and the timing parameters should reset to factory defaults." Everyone in the shop held their breath as Mike Bricks gestured toward Maverick. "Go ahead and start it." Maverick approached the ignition cautiously, his hand hesitating over the start button. 3 days of failure had conditioned him to expect disappointment. He pressed the button and immediately heard the difference. The engine turned over smoothly and caught on the first attempt. The engine roared to life with a sound that exceeded even the owner's descriptions of its original performance. The system engaged seamlessly, delivering power without the rough transitions and vibrations that had characterized its recent operation. The diagnostic computers now displayed readings that matched the engine's actual smooth performance. Complete silence filled the auto shop as the implications of Mike Bricks's 5-minute repair settled over everyone present. The mechanics who had struggled for 3 days stared at the perfectly running engine, then at Mike Bricks, then back at the engine. Olivia calculated the time and money that Mike Bricks's simple fix had just saved her business. The stunned quiet revealed how completely Mike Bricks had shattered every assumption about his mechanical knowledge and capabilities. Everyone faced an uncomfortable question they couldn't ignore. Maverick stared at Mike Bricks with new eyes, struggling to reconcile the man he thought he knew with the engineer who had just accomplished the impossible. "Mike Bricks, where did you learn to do that?" Maverick asked, his voice carrying a mixture of respect and confusion. "That wasn't basic mechanical knowledge. You knew exactly which connections to check and why." Mike Bricks picked up his mop again, seeming almost uncomfortable with the attention. "I wasn't always cleaning floors," he said quietly, avoiding direct eye contact with the group gathered around him. The vague response only intensified everyone's curiosity. "What do you mean you weren't always cleaning floors? What did you do before working here?" one of the mechanics pressed. "I had a different job," Mike Bricks replied, starting to move away from the engine bay. His reluctance to elaborate created more questions than answers, leaving his coworkers hungry for details that explained his remarkable demonstration. Olivia stepped forward, her business owner instincts recognizing the significance of what had just occurred. "Mike Bricks, you just solved a problem that cost me 3 days and thousands of dollars in parts. I think we deserve to know how you knew what to do." The pressure from multiple questioners finally broke through Mike Bricks's reserve. He set down his mop and leaned against a nearby workbench. "I used to be a lead systems integrator at Hawthorne Engineering," he said, the words carrying weight that surprised everyone listening. The name Hawthorne Engineering meant something to anyone in the automotive industry. The firm designed advanced propulsion systems for luxury manufacturers and racing teams worldwide. Their engineers commanded 6-figure salaries and worked on projects that pushed technological boundaries. Maverick had read about their innovations in trade magazines but never imagined meeting someone who had actually worked there. The mechanics exchanged stunned glances, their initial dismissiveness replaced by genuine amazement and newfound respect. You worked at Hawthorne? Maverick asked. That's like saying you used to work for NASA. Mike Bricks nodded slowly. Over 20 years. I was part of the team that built the prototype for this very engine. I know its flaws because I designed around them. The revelation explained everything. Mike Bricks's technical vocabulary hadn't come from casual observation or basic training. His confident handling of the complex electrical systems reflected years of professional experience at the highest levels of automotive engineering. The systematic approach he had used to diagnose the grounding issue was textbook Hawthorne methodology. But why are you here? Maverick asked, gesturing around the modest repair shop. Engineers at Hawthorne make more in a month than most of us see in a year. Mike Bricks's expression changed, revealing pain that had nothing to do with mechanical problems. When my wife got sick, I left everything to take care of her. After she passed, I never went back. No one wanted a man with grief in his eyes and age in his bones. The honest explanation hit everyone in the shop simultaneously. Life circumstances, not lack of ability, had brought Mike Bricks to his current position. The contrast between his former role developing cutting-edge automotive technology and his present job maintaining shop cleanliness created a moment that changed how everyone viewed both Mike Bricks and their own assumptions about people. Olivia realized she had employed a world-class engineer to empty trash cans and mop floors. Maverick understood that the quiet man he had barely noticed possessed expertise that exceeded his own by decades. The transformation in perception was immediate and profound. Mike Bricks was no longer just the janitor who cleaned their workspace. He was an accomplished professional whose personal sacrifices had temporarily obscured his exceptional capabilities. As word of the miraculous repair began spreading beyond the shop walls, none of them could predict how quickly this revelation would reach the very person who owned that expensive engine. Dominic Mercer arrived at the Austin shop Friday morning to collect his engine, expecting another disappointing update about ongoing diagnostic challenges. Instead, he found his million-dollar power plant running smoothly on the test stand, producing the precise sound signature he remembered from successful track days. The venture capitalist approached Maverick to discuss the repair details, assuming the lead mechanic had finally solved the complex problem. Maverick shifted uncomfortably and gestured toward Mike Bricks, who was wiping down diagnostic equipment nearby. Actually, Mike Bricks here identified the issue. Turned out to be a grounding problem in the controller that our computers couldn't detect. Langston studied Mike Bricks with new interest, taking in the work clothes and janitor's equipment that seemed to contradict the technical expertise required for such an advanced repair. The disconnect between appearance and capability intrigued the venture capitalist, who had built his fortune by recognizing potential in unexpected places. "You fixed my engine?" Langston asked Mike Bricks directly. "The mechanics told me this was an incredibly complex problem." Mike Bricks nodded modestly. The control module had a loose ground connection. It created timing conflicts that standard diagnostics couldn't isolate. The technical explanation confirmed Langston's growing suspicions about Mike Bricks's background. Venture capitalists survived by quickly assessing talent and opportunity, and Langston recognized exceptional engineering knowledge when he heard it. He pulled Mike Bricks aside for a private conversation, away from the curious mechanics and shop noise. "I have a keen eye for talent," Langston said. "I'm launching a confidential project that requires someone with advanced propulsion system expertise. Based on what I just witnessed, I think you might be exactly what I need." Mike Bricks's expression revealed surprise mixed with wariness. Years of janitorial work had conditioned him to expect disappointment, making extraordinary opportunities seem too good to be real. "What kind of project?" Langston described a high-stakes research initiative focused on cutting-edge automotive technology. The position would involve leading a team of engineers in developing breakthrough innovations. The project demanded exceptional leadership capabilities and someone who could think beyond conventional methods. "I need someone who can solve problems that stump entire teams of certified mechanics," Langston continued. "You demonstrated exactly that skill set this morning." The offer represented more than career advancement for Mike Bricks. It meant reclaiming the professional identity he had abandoned during his wife's illness and the difficult years that followed her death. The engineering field he had once dominated could become his world again, replacing the quiet routine of maintenance work with the intellectual challenges he had missed. Shop employees watched the conversation with growing awareness that something significant was happening. The mechanics exchanged glances that mixed professional jealousy with genuine amazement at their janitor's hidden capabilities. Olivia realized she had nearly lost a world-class engineer to another employer without ever recognizing his value to her own business. The younger mechanics gathered around, eager to hear details about Mike Bricks's unexpected opportunity. Tyson, who had initially mocked Mike Bricks's suggestion to examine the engine, now looked at him with newfound respect and perhaps envy at the dramatic career change unfolding before them. After considering the implications for several minutes, Mike Bricks accepted Langston's offer. The decision marked his transition from overlooked custodial worker to lead engineer on a cutting-edge automotive project. As he prepared to leave his mop and bucket behind forever, Mike Bricks faced the challenge of proving himself worthy of this second chance in the field he had never truly left behind. Mike Bricks walked into Langston's research facility on a Monday morning, carrying a worn leather briefcase that had survived his years at Hawthorne Engineering. The lab buzzed with activity as engineers worked on prototypes that would define the next generation of automotive propulsion systems. His new team consisted of 12 specialists, each holding advanced degrees from prestigious universities and several years of experience with cutting-edge projects. Dr. Maya Wu, the team's former interim leader, introduced Mike Bricks to the group during their first meeting. The engineers exchanged skeptical glances as they learned about his recent employment history. One engineer whispered to his colleague about concerns regarding Mike Bricks's ability to lead such an advanced technical project. "We're here to create something that doesn't exist yet," Mike Bricks told the assembled team. "I've spent the last few years watching how people work together, and I've learned that the best solutions come from listening to everyone's ideas, not just the loudest voices in the room." His approach differed dramatically from traditional engineering hierarchies. Instead of assigning tasks from above, Mike Bricks organized collaborative sessions where each team member presented their specialized knowledge. He encouraged the battery engineers to discuss challenges with the software developers, and he required the mechanical designers to explain their concepts to the electrical systems experts. The team's initial skepticism began dissolving during their third week together. Mike Bricks's technical knowledge proved current despite his career gap, and his questions pushed team members to consider problems from angles they hadn't explored before. When young engineer Isabel Cruz struggled with integrating charging protocols, Mike Bricks spent an entire afternoon working through the technical specifications with her, drawing on his experience with similar challenges at Hawthorne. Mike Bricks's years of observing workplace dynamics at the auto shop had taught him valuable lessons about communication and motivation. He noticed when team members felt excluded from discussions and made sure their expertise contributed to project decisions. He recognized signs of frustration before they became major conflicts and addressed concerns through one-on-one conversations that preserved both professional relationships and project momentum. His hands-on approach bridged the gap between theory and practice, reminding the team that true innovation required both intellect and heart. He was not just a leader but a mentor, a problem solver, and a visionary who fostered a culture of learning and collaboration where every challenge was met with determination. The breakthrough came during their 7th month together. The team developed a hybrid integration system that achieved significantly better efficiency than existing technology while reducing manufacturing costs. Their innovations solved problems that had limited hybrid vehicle adoption by addressing both performance and affordability concerns simultaneously. Word of their success spread quickly through automotive engineering circles. Major manufacturers began requesting meetings to discuss the technology. Trade publications featured articles about the project's achievements, and several industry conferences invited Mike Bricks to present their findings. The recognition established him as a respected leader in automotive technology. Mike Bricks's story resonated throughout the engineering community, inspiring others to recognize hidden potential in unexpected places. His journey became a testament to the importance of looking beyond job titles and recognizing the value of diverse experiences, challenging conventional notions about expertise and leadership in ways that would influence how the entire industry viewed talent. Mike Bricks's transformation from dismissed janitor to respected engineer proves that expertise often hides beneath surface appearances. His story challenges us to look beyond job titles and recognize the hidden potential in people around us. The mechanics at the Austin shop learned this lesson when their quiet custodian solved a problem that had stumped 3 certified professionals for days. The next time you encounter someone whose abilities seem limited by their circumstances, remember Mike Bricks's journey and the power of giving people a chance to show what they can truly accomplish. Exceptional talent exists in unexpected places, waiting for recognition. If this story inspired you, hit the like button and tell us in the comments about someone you know who was overlooked but had incredible hidden talents.